What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Deaton, and this is another episode of Southern Wedding Professionals. And today I have the wonderful, the talented Sara Grace from Sara Grace Photography. What's going on? How are you? Tell us about you.
Hey, how are you guys? I'm good. I'm so happy to be here. Super excited. This is a little out of the box for me, but I'm embracing it. And I don't love talking about myself, but I'm definitely gonna try to share a little bit more and be more personable and be transparent. Of course, I always tell that to my clients actually, that being transparent is probably one of the more difficult things to do, especially on social media. But
Mm.
that's how we connect with the world right now, especially in our times. And sometimes letting your guard down a little bit and letting a peek into who you are and who you are inside connects you better with the world, but also connects you better with your clients and your market. And especially if you're in the wedding industry, I would say it connects you better with your brides, because they want to know you, they want to connect with you, and they want to be a part of your story just the way you're telling theirs.
So I should have let you do the intro because that was far better than mine. Because that's what this is all about. It's about letting people know who you are and what you do, and also it's really mostly about the first part, which is about you, because ultimately that's why you get the call to do what you do for your clients. So, um, well said. And I think that's a great place to start. Let's start with you and let's start talking about how you got into wedding photography or photography in general.
Well, I started when I was a teenager. I held my first camera when I was about 12. And I've always been obsessed with the makings of the camera and the dynamics of it. And that's old school, when you're looking at an old 35 or medium format, just breaking it down, playing with it, saying, what does this do? And learning that, and then getting going with journalism and taking every picture known to man your senior year of high school, making sure everybody had a picture with you long before selfies were involved. It's scrapbooking and all of that stuff, like old school. I've been doing this a really long time. And then I started falling in love with just capturing those candid moments, and telling people's story, telling the story of my friends, telling the story of my family. Then I became the memory keeper, and I kept all of the pictures from my entire family and just cataloging all of those. And then it matriculated into this beautiful thing that is wedding photography. I found this passion, not just for photography, but for connecting with people. I think more than anything, I became madly in love with light and chasing it, looking at it, seeing how it moves and how it affects us, how it brings us in. I encourage my clients to go outside at the time that you're getting married,
Mm.
on in and around that season, and look at the light and feel it, because I want you to be present in that light. And it's my job to guide you through that, but also to inspire you and to keep you peaceful and calm, and more than anything, to tell your story. And that's what I am. I'm just a light chaser, and I can see people and love people really easily. And it's just automatic for me. So at my core, I would say what defines me mostly is my intense love for every human being and my obsession with light.
I am feeling your vibe right now. I am feeling all of it. Let me trace back a little bit to what you said. So you're in high school, you're taking all sorts of photos, then you're doing some journalism stuff, and then at what point in life did wedding photography start to enter the picture? Was it like post college, during college, pre college? Like when did that sort of occur?
I was actually way post college. I got my degree in biology, so it was a little out of the box. I thought, you got to have a solid job. There's no way I could possibly make money at this. When you're an artist, you're like, yeah, you tell your parents, you're like, I want to be an artist. Yeah. And they look at you like, get a real job. And, and, but I had an entrepreneur for a dad. So he was a big investor in terms of, if you have a skill, that's a different ballgame. It's not just art, it's how can you make it into what you wanted to do. And that's the American dream, right? You find something you love and then you try to make money at it, right? But then you try not to fall out of love with it while you're making money at it. So there's this healthy balance of those things. And then as you get into that, so I had a guide, and an amazing man, my dad, Russ Lambert, bought me my first digital camera. And I started on a model shoot. I was doing some product line stuff. I was doing portraits. And then within 6 months, I was asked to do a wedding. And I had no clue what I was doing. So what do you do when you don't have a clue and you're in this kind of an industry? You talk to the experts, you talk to people that know what they're doing, that have done wedding photography. You start tapping into people that know their stuff, especially in this time period of our history when we were moving out of film and into digital. It was very odd, and everybody was really pushing back against the digital and not embracing it and going oscillating back and forth. And she just Jay Rowe, one of my friends, and she just really inspired me and said, just look at the light, just look at the light. It doesn't matter what you're shooting with. In fact, Annie Leibovitz said that it doesn't matter what you got in your hand. It matters how you see the world. It matters how you connect with what you're photographing, and light matters. And so get on that part and find your connection with the world and then tell your story. And then I realized very quickly, like as I started shooting weddings, what I wanted to look like and how I wanted to be. And then it just started snowballing. And I was moving around a lot and trying to find like a niche a little bit. Everybody was saying you have to find one thing that you're good at. But I just love people. I'm like, people are what I'm good at. And I love, big part of my business is therapy, is like connecting with people and hearing what they're going through and telling their story, especially this year, man. Like people need love this year more than any year I've ever worked in this business. And I've been doing this for 18 years.
Wow. So 18 years you've been in the business. Has it mostly been in the Nashville area, or have you moved around a bit as far as like your locations?
Oh, I've moved around. I'm an Army wife.
Ah.
So I've been an Army wife for a while, and I moved around a lot. I would say I started my business about a year before my daughter was born. My first daughter was born, Grace. And I really wanted a business that I could work, and I really wanted to do this, but I wanted to be able to stay home during the day and work. I started as a part-time gig, and then it kind of got to be full-time very quickly. And then I was learning on the fly, and I had to learn business. I had to learn execution. I had to learn product fulfillment. I had to learn all of these things that nobody briefs you on. Nobody tells you about when you want to get in this business. You don't know you don't know 50 steps down the road until 50 steps down the road, and you're like, oh, you know what? I gotta get my shit together. Sorry, is that gonna beep out?
No, it's fine. It's true though.
It is.
It's true.
And
I mean,
so
you've had some very interesting. This is really interesting to me because I normally talk to a vendor. It could be a caterer, it could be a venue. Obviously, that doesn't move. It could be a wedding planner. Rarely do you see people that have changed markets and still like continue to do what they do and do it on a high level. Tell us, how many markets have you actually served, as far as like residentially speaking, like where you've lived and then you serve that market, and then you move to a new city and do the same. How many different cities has that been? And what's your secret? Like, what's your recipe? How do you get back and start all over again in a brand new market?
well, honestly, it's been about six
Wow.
different markets. But I was born in Texas. I went to Baylor. So I have family there. So, when you have friends and family in specific places, it's easier to kind of implant and network a little bit. I had to learn on the fly a little bit. I used whatever I had at my fingertips, but it's really, you start into a new market, and this I was telling, I have a team of photographers and I have interns and I have baby photographers that I grow and I water and I love, and then I tell them to come along with me and I teach them my wicked ways, and then guide them into whatever they want to see and whatever they want to do. But I try to give back where I didn't get, you know, I try to say, this is the screw up I did. Don't do it this way. And you can either listen to me and it will go well with you, or you can ignore me and I'll get a phone call in a year, like, either way, I'm going to be here for you and love you no matter what. But this is how I would do it if I had to do it over again. But in all honesty, I have to say this now, and I caveat this with, I'm a human being, completely flawed, but I have a strong and deep relationship with my maker, and I have a deep faith. And I have to give credit where credit is due. The only reason why I'm able to start over and have blessing and favor is because he goes before me and makes a way for me. And I don't honestly know. It just happens. And I try to give back where I
like
can.
a specific marketing technique or something that you implement when you get into a new residency. You just immediately start going out there and start building, trying to build relationships with other vendors, and then hopefully you get that one client that leads to 2 or 3, and then those 3 become 6 or 8. That's sort of how you've done it so far?
Well, I would say I've learned. Initially, that's how I did it. I would start networking, right? That's how you always do it. You get in with other vendors, you start networking. I learned very quickly when I started in the Nashville market. I was like, not only did I want to stay in the Nashville market and this is home, but I started visiting vendors. I started making calls. I started learning things outside of my comfort zone. And old photographers like me have a tendency to do what's comfortable and not want to grow past and catch up with the times, catch up with social media, catch up with all of these things. So what did I do? I started talking to younger people and going, okay, I started listening to my clients. My clients are the ones giving me the feedback going, here's this, here's that. This is what we like to see. And so then I just adapted and changed. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So the fastest way I think to really connect in a new market is to get yourself out there on social media, because it's a free platform, especially Instagram. Facebook, I'm on the fence about, but Instagram, I really like. It's a curated, optimal kind of viewing area, and it's updated a lot faster than websites. I think you still should have a website. I'm a big believer in SEOs. I think that they're highly beneficial. I love my SEO. Find one that's affordable, that's trustworthy, and that's got your back, and that answers your emails. I would say, but my number one place that I really get a lot of leads from and stuff is my personal clients. Man, we have such great relationships. You build the relationships and you love people and you're transparent and you connect. You're going to get that great review. You're going to get that feedback. And then, oh, hey, I'm the bridesmaid of this one wedding. Can you shoot this wedding for me? Or, hey, can you do this portrait session for me? And then you just start nurturing those relationships. And my brides are some of my closest friends. Like, we become friends. And then I get to take pictures of them as they build their families and grow. So I would say it's faith, marketing, and relationships.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great way of summing it all down. Particularly on the social platform. You said something that really struck me there. Social media is free. I mean, it's a invaluable resource if you know how to use it. But if you're using it for the wrong reasons, or you're not being honest and true in your engagement as far as like what you really truly feel, or I feel like that translates with people, and it registers with people. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. I've had to learn to be authentic on social media. I've had to learn to let my guard down. It's because I'm a little tight with my personal life. I like to keep things a little tight, but my social media coordinator that manages all my social media platform, she works side by side with me, guiding me to it and through it. And she's like, no, you need to say this, and go with your gut. For example, on my anniversary this past year, she said, post your own wedding photos. You post your own wedding photos and tell your story. And it got a great response. And I got so many messages from brides, and they were like, your wedding was so great. And they felt like they knew me better, and I was closer. And I understood that this is how they're connecting, and this is the feedback that I'm getting. So while I wasn't completely on board with it at first, I definitely changed my dynamic. And I would say free to an extent. Remember, your time is money, especially in this business. We give away our time so freely sometimes, and we don't realize that those minutes we're saying yes to social media. We're saying yes to our families. We're saying yes to our brides, our clients. We're saying yes to our marketing campaign. I mean, Lisa Turker said it, what is your best yes? And if it's your business, it's your business. If it's your client, it's your client. Like right now, you're my best yes. You're who I'm investing in right now, this relationship. And so that, I feel like I tell my brides that on your wedding day, you are my best yes. I'm saying no to everything else. And I'm saying 100% of myself is you. And that is so, they just receive that and pick that up. And anybody would, because you feel like, okay, you feel like you're a priority. You feel like, okay, there's a connection that's real. And that's what I feel. And then I just pour my heart and soul into them, so much so that I cry at every wedding. It never fails. I'm such a basket case. And every father-daughter dance, ugly tears.
I mean, I gotta say at least 75% of the weddings that I'm a part of in my business, whenever I see whenever I see them kiss for the first time, that always kind of tugs at my heartstrings, and depending on my mood, I may hold it in better than others other days. That's the moment that always gets me, and that's really cool. I mean, you're speaking really my language here with this authenticity thing. So often people view social media as a chore, and that it's like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to post this thing, I've got to, I've have to spend a little bit of time and post this picture because that's what everybody tells me I have to do. And if that's really truly your attitude towards, putting yourself out there on these platforms, then that's the attitude you're probably going to get in return, or you're probably going to get just very little engagement, if not any. But if you're authentic to who you are, and you authentically engage in other vendors' posts, and you're really truly trying to present your best self and your best yes, yes, they are going to open up, and they are going to engage with you, and they're going to, really dig what you have to say and do. I can't agree with this more.
And I think it's more than just your content. I was taught by my videographer, who's absolutely fantastic, Rebecca Troublehorn. She does videography and photography. She's a nature photographer. She's out of Oregon now. But I had the privilege of working with her for a long time. She's one of my very favorite people on the planet. I would marry her today if I wasn't so locked down in my own marriage. She's so, I adore my husband. Let me just say that. But regularly on Instagram, I do tell her how much I love her and I miss her. So she's so fantastic, and she's so talented. Her portraits and her nature photography inspires me to be better every day and to look at light in a totally different way. And anyway, she was the one that taught me how to let my guard down a little bit more on social media, because she has such a following and such an engagement. I mean, minimum 25 comments on her posts, because she says that she actually wants to talk to these people. She loves them and she wants to know them better. And so she goes and comments on their posts. And I think people don't realize that if you want more of a connection, you need to go out and branch out of your own curated album and find other artists and say, hey, and look at their stuff and really spend some time and say, okay, this is a part of my business, but I'm going to block out this time and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be present in it and I'm going to make the best of it. Maybe I don't really want to post on Instagram right now or comment, but maybe God's going to show me something great, or maybe I'm going to meet somebody new. Like I picked up Rebecca on Facebook and she's the coolest. So like, you never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to connect with. I've met great vendors. These relationships are priceless to me. And especially now when we all have to kind of team up together to try to get through this industry, through the wedding industry in this time, and hopefully get past it and learn how to be in our new normal. I think that it's essential. I think it's absolutely essential. And we need to find a positive way to spin it versus having a negative attitude. A negative attitude isn't going to get you shit. Sorry. I have kids in my house, so like there's a swear jar.
It's totally fine. I mean, we're like Joe Rogan of wedding podcasts here. So foul language is quite all right. It's totally fine. No, seriously though. Well said. I mean, we all have to figure out how to move and how to make this time work. And there's no better way to spend this time than to encouraging other people and uplifting other people within our industry and within our our own vendor networks. Because otherwise, I mean, what are we doing this for? I mean, we have to all be a team. We're all a team day of. We all have a job to do, but also like, we're all in this. I hate to use that phrase. I just did it, but like we are all in this together because we're all tied by the wedding, and so if adopting that sort of team player mentality of like being able to reach out to your fellow vendors and make sure they're doing all right, checking in on them. Hey, I'm just checking in on you, not just the client that's paying me money to be here, but like, I've been with you on 1,000 weddings. Like I'm checking in on you. How are you doing? I think that's really important.
Yeah. And you form those relationships and you never know, like a bride may need something and you've got these, social media and our industry, we have such an opportunity. And I don't know, I think it comes from who you are in your heart. Like either you're a giver or a taker. And, like you have to find a way to give back. You have to find a way to love people. And it's not just chasing light and capturing light. You have to realize that couple, that wedding, that's the light. Like we have to keep our eyes fixed on that. And yeah, it's a paycheck. At the end of the day, we all go home to families and not everybody has what everybody else has. And sometimes that connection is what people need. And you never know the opportunities. In the words of Forrest Gump, you never know what you're going to get.
Right. Forrest said it best. And, honestly, think of a question that like you're talking about, you're either a giver or a taker, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a giver or a taker, and you're listening to this, maybe you're listening to this podcast and maybe you realize in this conversation that you're a taker. How does someone become, and this is now we're getting in Deep Space Nine, so forgive me, but how does one transition from being a taker to a giver?
Heart, man. Like see what motivates you and try to find something that's better. A lot of times people go through seasons taking because they've been giving their whole lives and they feel taken advantage of, or sometimes they're going through wounds and hurt. See past the person and what they want you to see and see through the wound. If you separate the wound from the person, then you can love that person easier. And maybe that person just needs a little extra attention. Maybe that person just needs to let go of a little bit of resentment or darkness. Maybe they need to find what drives them. If they are a taker and they're in that taker mentality, do a systems check, kind of say, okay, why am I negative? Why am I feeling down? It's not just, what's going on in our world. It's not just COVID. It's not just all the other junk that's happening. There has to be something deeper there.
Mm.
And find a way to let it go. Even if you have to say it 100 times, I let it go. I let it go. Find a way to move past yourself and serving others, because the number one way you can get from a taker to a giver is serving other people.
Mm.
Get out of yourself, get out of your head, and get into your heart, and realize that not everybody out there is negative. There are good people in the world. And stop watching the news and listen to these podcasts more. And
It's true.
yeah,
It's true. I feel you.
turn off the television, turn on these podcasts, and go for a walk.
Mm. I mean, I feel like that's just the message that everyone needs right now. I think if I could just say everybody needs one message, that's it. It's like we need to stop. We need to shift our mentality as people from being a taker to a giver, and we have to figure out how to benefit other people first and foremost. And there, I mean, I'm not saying there's not a time to take care of yourself. There are times. I mean, every day there's a time to take care of yourself. It's called stop working at a particular hour and do something else. You
So
know,
boundaries. I would say boundaries are a good thing. Boundaries are my word for the year, word for 2021. And my family, we do a word of the year, like our word for the following year.
mm,
And believe it or not, my word for this year was change.
what a word. See, so you basically started this whole thing.
So I started this whole thing. Yeah. I was like, oh, I get to embrace change again every day. But you know what my father told me growing up was that the only thing you can count on is change. So embrace it, make something good out of it. The only thing that's constant in this world and that is free is God's love. Everything else comes at a price. You just don't know what the price is. And change is inevitable. So don't be negative on it.
Great, awesome segue, because I was going to ask you, since your faith is very important to you, like, how do you feel like your faith enters into your photography that then influences the output of that photography, and how, how your clients perceive it? Like, how does your faith and photography intersect?
And I photograph people of all faiths or no faith. I photograph people that, they assume that I have a faith. They see me and they see how strong I am in my faith, and they assume that I wouldn't want to photograph their wedding, or they assume things about me. And that is so false, because my faith and my relationship with God, my number one priority is to love people. And if I can, and I love you best. In fact, most of my gifts to like new moms and people is to take pictures. That's how I love you best. But people, it's love. I would say that how faith intersects my photography is absolute love. Is seeing past what they want me to see and to see to their heart. Because most people just want to look beautiful. Most people want to look good. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to feel affirmed. They feel whole. I would say, like, you may not get this about me. This may not, like, I had this beautiful couple. They were the kindest, most generous, amazing people. And that we disagreed on a faith thing. And I'm like, we didn't disagree. I would say we just had different upbringings. And they were like, you're amazing. You're awesome. And I was like, well, you're awesome. And there was no divide. There was no divide. There was no disconnect. It was magic. It was epic. And it was totally mind-blowingly incredible. And the product was like, brought me to tears. It still brings me to tears to this day. I'll start crying. But so it doesn't matter kind of what their faith journey is. It only matters what I've been told. And I've been told I need to love people, and love people no matter how that is and how they need to be loved. And that's different for everyone. So I'm not preachy. I'm just me, I don't try to curb anything. I have an intensity about me that is true. And I know my shit, and I know how to get it done. And
Right.
Nobody can deviate me from my path, especially at a wedding. But when a bride is having a full-on meltdown, or when things don't go as planned, or there's rain, or there's effing COVID, I can still her down and be still and find my faith just grounds me to where I can just love her through that moment and get
Mm,
her to joy.
right.
And my job is to bring you out of that into joy because you
So
don't
what,
smile and fake it.
right, of course. And I mean, uh, it sounds like you just have like a really knack of like really finding that moment for each one of your people. And even though your people are different every weekend, potentially, depending on how often you work, um, what's your process like in trying to figure out what a couple's thing is? You know what I mean? Every couple has, you know, their own dreams and visions for what their wedding day is going to be remembered when they flip through the photo book. How do you get from this esoteric idea of what the client wants to the actual execution?
Time. And that's so lost. And
In
on so
today's
many,
world, yes, it is.
it's lost. People don't want conversations. They want you to book online. People are like, oh, just fill out everything online and never talk to them till the wedding day. And that's not how I roll. I'm
Mm.
relationships, and that means time. And
So
that's okay.
how, right. So give us maybe a tangible timeline like that you would typically like to do ideally with a client.
So, first of all, every wedding includes an engagement session, and whether they want it or not, it's they have to get my vibe. They have to get how I connect with them, and they have to get past the device that I'm holding in my hand. The method of capturing, they have to get to me. So I want to know their story. I want to know how they met. If they're living together, I want to know like what's the one thing he drives you crazy, what he does as a roommate, like what is something you cherish in her, how can you slow down and look at the simple things that you don't really realize you do every day but you take for granted. um, and so during that engagement process, in that engagement shoot, we reconnect. And typically it means it's a really good night for those couples. They really like me. And I get a text from them and they're like, that was epic. That was so great. Because I'm doing half the work for all the guys at the, the photo shoot, because they're just flirting. And I always tell my brides engagement shoots either include booze, snacks, or coffee, whatever is your jam.
Mm.
No judgment, but I'm a big believer in $5 donuts. Shout out for $5. 160 layers of absolute goodness. Oh my gosh. And so we always try to incorporate a snack or a marg or whatever. And that like already sets the stage for the wedding. Then we get to the big day and I have excitement and I'm ready to burst and I'm like an Energizer bunny on crack. And so I show up, we get going. Optimal times for wedding days, especially in the fall, are an 8-hour timeline. Occasionally, if we have like a church wedding or something like that, I like to add in an hour here or there. But we roll through getting ready, and I'm really efficient. Um, most of my team, I have a pretty big team that I take to weddings now because I have a behind the scenes editor, a social media coordinator that's doing daily updates. The whole team doesn't always get to go to every wedding, depending if an associate is shooting or if I'm leading. But if I'm leading, I like to have a little bit of a crew with me. Have an intern. This is also helpful with COVID, reducing touch points, all that other stuff.
Hmm.
But getting lots of angles and also teaching on the fly. And so anyway, we build in a lot of time for that. Details. We get bridal portraits depending if it's a first look or it's not. That's 50-50, believe it or not. And yeah, so we just roll through that. We get them all hitched. And I mean, a lot of times I get really into my work and I forget what time it is. That's why I have an assistant going, okay, we have to go. Or a wedding coordinator looking at me sideways going, girl, you got this locked up. So, but most of the time my couples and I, we connect so well. Like they get that they get that the artistic process takes a hot minute. And a lot of times when I come up to them and I know they're done, even in the wedding, I'm like, guys, I see something, killer sunset, or it rained that day. So let's go get some umbrella pics with some light flares in the back. And they're always jamming with it. Typically after 4 or 5 cocktails and some food, man, they'll do anything. And So I just kind of roll them through their day, but if they're not feeling it, I try to love them as much as possible and just always give them opportunities. But they thank me in the end. They're so thankful and awesome in the end. They just, when I say I adore the people that I work with, it's the couples that I work with that I like. They bring me to tears. I love them so much, and I'm just so connected to them. But they were my best yes that day, so they were like, they're a part of my soul now. So it's just kind of, I don't know. I'm a big sappy ball of goo.
I mean, how can someone not love that, right? I mean, somebody that's passionate about what you do. I mean, it's obviously it radiates in this interview, and I'm sure it radiates in your work. I know it's radiated in your work because I've seen it. But everyone who has not seen it, what's your Instagram account so everybody can go there and follow you while we're talking?
So it's Sara Grace Photo, at Sara Grace Photo. So no H, no
No
H.
H.
Sara
Just
Grace.
the SARA, right?
SARAGRACE photo.
Awesome. Yeah, everybody's got to get on that because if you think this interview is passionate, wait till you see her photos on her Instagram page. So I want to ask you a series of questions that I always do to everybody, just to get a more rounded picture of who you are, which we've already got a lot of, and I love that because you're just so passionate about what you do that it just oozes out in all these different places, like you're saying, this ball of sappiness. But I always like to ask like some general like overview questions, like almost like it's a speed dating round, because like it's good for people to know, and it also gives them another way of connecting with you that maybe we didn't catch. So I will jump in straight to, let's see. Do you have a favorite restaurant in Nashville? And if it is, do you mind saying what that is?
Oh my gosh, it oscillates.
Well, give me a few if you want. That's
Okay,
fine.
etch for dinner. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, so epic and it's delicious. Let me caveat it, and I'm sure I'm going to lose followers with this, but I'm gluten free.
Well, nobody should unfollow you if you're gluten free, you know.
Hopefully not, but my husband would unfollow me if I'm gluten free because he loves gluten. So it dictates a lot of his world, and he doesn't like that. So I never get to eat wedding cake, just put it that way.
Mm,
Um, but it keeps me going. So they have the best gluten-free biscuits ever. Bar taco for a quick lunch, best margarita. I can drink 3 and still take pictures. It's fantastic. Um, oh my gosh, there's on the
there's,
spot. I'm dying to go to Optimist. Optimist is epic. Merchants for a quick lunch, the best sweet potato fries ever. It's on Broadway.
mm,
Um, and you can walk off whatever you drink there, which they're so good. Uh, Margot's is amazing. It's kind of a French blend, rich, but it's really good.
right.
The Red Horse in Franklin is good. Do you want me to keep going?
I mean,
Manor
you
Bulls.
could go all day. I mean, there's one I can't. I wish I remember the name of the Nashville hot chicken restaurant that I checked out.
Hattie B's. Hattie
What,
B's.
what was it?
Hattie B's.
Oh, Hattie B's. Yeah, of course. Great. That was. I'm pretty sure actually that was it. And I mean, awesome, super tasty.
Yeah, if you go nowhere else, if you can't go anywhere else, any of the places I've gone, and there's all kinds of different price ranges, by the way. Oh, Feed and Seed is amazing too. Like, guys, I could go on and on and on. It kind of depends on your budget, but I would say Hattie B's, hit up Hattie B's, and do not leave Nashville without a $5 donut. You have to
I
go
love
there. And then if
$5.
you're really feeling a little bit out of the box and you need extra sugar, go to Jenny's and get a scoop. Like, totally yummy, epic. But
Awesome. I love it. If you're
dog,
gonna,
the
speaking of
donut and
food,
dog.
was
Yeah,
that?
the donut and dog. So you can get a
Oh,
donut and a hot dog. These donuts, like, it's like food porn on Instagram. Like, they have things that only you dream about in your brain, and you're like, what the F? Where did that come from? But I need to be in that picture right now. Like, I need to exist where this thing is. It's so good.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it's like your favorite food porn channel. That's perfect. Well said. The
Sorry, guys. I feel like I'm all over. We
I
go
love
from
it. I'm so in love with you right now. You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea. What if you're gonna make a meal at home? What's your go-to? Do you got like one in your back pocket that you like? You always pull out for like the special guests or this for the special day.
venison enchiladas.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm locally, we grow a lot of food, and my husband is a hunter. We only eat, like, we harvest what we eat. We're straight up, we take care, we're big environmentalists. We have a
Mm,
whole recycling center on the side of my house. We compost. I'm a little, like, he's a little on the green side of things.
mm.
And when I say that, like, he goes through the trash to make sure I do all those things. So like, he's obnoxious about it. But um we have venison and elk, and we have it in our freezer, and you don't even know it's venison, but the best venison enchiladas or chilaquiles is really good. And I love doing like a spin on that with poached eggs and some grilled venison on top, or ground venison. I love cooking with venison. It's a lot healthier for you than beef. And I mean,
Yes.
they're cuter than cows, so everybody's kind of on the fence. People may judge me, but it's okay. I'll take it. Um, so that, and then I make really good paleo fried chicken with homemade honey mustard. Like, like, I need an intervention. I can't stop eating it. It's so good. With mashed cauliflower, that one's a good one. I make a great paleo lasagna that would make you cry, with burrata and fresh basil from my garden. What else?
Well, I just want to say
Really
this.
good paleo.
Oh, oh,
Yeah. Sorry, I can keep going.
no, I know. No, I got. I just need to grab a couple things, and I could be on the way to eat some of this delicious food. And I just need 3.5, maybe 4 hours, depending on traffic, and
You're
I'll be
welcome
right
to
there.
come for Thanksgiving. I'm making an epic Thanksgiving dinner.
Mm.
It's going to be really good.
So tell me, are you watching anything on Netflix or anything? Like, what's your go-to show right now? You got one?
Um, oh my gosh, on Netflix?
Or, anything.
Oh, I like Poldark on Amazon. I was in a Poldark phase, but then so negative, and I have to watch happy things
Mm,
because there's so much negativity going on in the world right now.
there is.
So I I have to get in a zone when I'm editing. So I typically recycle rom-coms,
Mm.
but in the background, which drives my husband crazy, by the way. And they took off Friends off of Netflix in 2020, and have been an indicator of the shitstorm that was coming. And so, so I bought, my husband in January, he was like, "What the hell? What is this? You bought the entire digital season of Friends?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I did." So Friends is happy for me, and The Office.
Yeah.
This is oh yeah, just awesome. So I watch those. I
Yeah, what
don't
else you got?
know. I try not to watch too many Disney movies. I've got kids, so
How many kids?
I have two girls. I have a 16-year-old, Grace, who's fierce. She's going to change the world,
Mm,
and she inspires me, and is pretty much the reason why I've done everything I've done. And
I like that.
um, she's on my Instagram if you want to scroll up. She's the fierce, beautiful, insanely great redhead. I also have a portrait account that my team manages for me, so all of my portraits are on there, and that's Sara Grace Portraits, Sara
Mm.
Grace Photo Portraits. And she's all over that. So is my 8-year-old Madeline, Maddie Joyce, and we call her Mad Maddie. She's a pistol, and he makes me giggle every day, but brings me to Jesus on a regular basis.
That's that phrase, a pistol. I think that should be used more often. I think that's a better way to describe more people than many of the other words we use. I love that phrase.
Yeah. I mean, she keeps you on your toes and she says the most offbeat things and you're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Um, but I try to balance the family with the kids and all of that. And I try to make sure that I'm giving them my yes when I'm not. And a big way I do that is even when I'm on the phone with a client, if they interrupt me, I make eye contact with them and I give them my full attention, even if I'm mid sentence. And I just apologize to the client. Typically it's a bride. And I get so much grace on the other end of that phone line because they hear their voices or whatever. And
Mm,
I explained to them, I said, they have to know that they matter.
mm.
And so, like I try to balance that out because, they go to school 5 days a week. I mean, it's virtual, but they go to school 5 days a week and, we don't get to do as much, but I work on the weekends, most every weekend. And so I have to give them, their time too.
Mm. What's your what kind of music are you listening to? Are you a big music person?
I have I love Zach Williams right now. He's a Christian artist. He sounds like Chris Stapleton with a Christian vibe,
Oh, okay.
but I love country music. Big surprise. I'm in
I mean,
Tennessee,
you are in
naturally, but
Nashville, you know.
yeah. Chris Stapleton, I don't know. He just makes everything better at the end of the day. He's also like what my husband and I like to listen to. Whiskey is my thing. I like John and my husband John, we just have a glass of whiskey at the end of every night, and it just kind of,
I
makes
have
the
to.
world.
I gotta say this because you just literally hit me with that, my brain was like processing it. A friend of mine actually, I asked him. He's been married for probably 15 years now, and he's got 2 or 3 kids. And I was like, man, how do you balance being like a musician and like her career and like the kids and like how do you do all that? He's like, whiskey at the end of the night. That was what he say. He's like, we talk every night, at the end of every night, whenever that is, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whenever it is. I come home from a gig. We sit down and we pour a little shot of whiskey and we talk. And I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah, I thought I would like. It was funny. We were into a glass or two. We don't just do a shot, but I we have a little bit. We have a few more years on that, but like we were into a glass of whiskey last night, and I looked at him and I was like, I'm gonna create a country song that says "Whiskey Kisses." Like I would love for an artist to do a song called "Whiskey Kisses" because that's I think my favorite thing when I come home from a wedding and there's whiskey and it's quiet and he's got mellow music on something Johnny Swim or something good like in the background, and that's just my piece at the end of the day.
I love it. I think that's beautiful. Um, okay, last question. This is, and I think that you're gonna nail this. I got a feeling you're gonna nail this. But what is if you were to give somebody in your career field or just in the entrepreneur world that you live in, one piece of advice that's maybe gotten you through a hard time or maybe just something overarching that you feel like you've learned or experienced that would help somebody else, what would that be?
Well, it would be multiple things, believe it or not, but
I believe it. Give it to me.
um, it's not just one thing. My husband always says I never deal in favorites. So like it's not just one thing. It's don't give up, don't quit. Like, and I've had to have the women in my life, I would say, and the artists that I've been around, they've inspired me and pulled me out of some dark places at times, especially this year. I've gone a little dippy into some negative zones, and they're like, "Are you freaking crazy? Don't do that. Like, come back to the light." And I would say, don't quit and surround yourself with people that won't let you quit. Be choosy and be intentional about the women and men that are in your life, because they can make or break you. And it's okay to say no to things and no to people and yes to yourself. And remember, you're not taking when you're saying yes to yourself, you're giving to yourself. You just have to balance that, right? But I would say that, and then find something bigger than yourself that you can serve. Whether that's faith in God, whether that's other people, whether that's a charity, whether it's the planet, whether it's your neighbor. Find something bigger than yourself that you can pour yourself into and give some amount of time to, because it's going to make the world a better place. It's going to make you better, believe it or not. And then don't forget to be thankful. When you start criticizing yourself, you start getting down on yourself and negative, or shit happens and you're just in a freaking puddle, start the things that you're thankful for: your health, your kids, your family, your friends, anything, the breath in your lungs, your talent. Find things that you're thankful for and marinate in those as long as you marinate in the negative.
I love it. That is Sara Grace, everybody. Give it up. High claps all around. Everybody's cheering. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I appreciate you so, so much.
This is so fun. I didn't think it was, I was so nervous. And like,
you were so nervous.
Like, I was afraid.
For everybody's record, I got to say this before I hang it up. Like, she was like, I don't know. I feel like you're going to have to prod me to say, I think I asked like 7 questions in that whole thing, just for the record. So I think you did just fine. And something tells me we have a lot more to talk about. And I gotta figure out a way to get you back on this thing here in the future. And I hope you come back.
Food talk. We should just do a food talk.
we could do like a special, like a special food talk. It's SWP food talk.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we could have talked about 45 minutes of that. Anyway, that's Sara Grace, everybody. Sara Grace Photo. Go find her on the Insta, and we'll be talking soon.